There we go, we're live. Hello and welcome everybody to today's live stream, tonight's transformation story with special guest Bonnie Smit. Before we get rolling though, let everyone sort of file on, let us know where you're listening in from and where you're joining us from, and how has your spring been? Because ours has been fantastic here. How about you, Bonnie? How has your spring been out in Ontario?
Oh, ours, you don't want to ask. Ours has been very, very cold and very wet. Lots of rain. It's just not warming up. So.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ours usually starts pretty late, so we were very blessed this year to have it start a little earlier. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. So as you're filing on, let us know where you're coming from. So what we're planning to do here is we just want to share a little bit about Bonnie's story and how she uses, or how she's been using Shaklee products to help her maintain a healthier lifestyle. So Bonnie is from Ontario, Canada. We got two Canadian girls talking to you tonight, and she's been using the Shaklee products since 2013. And Bonnie was actually diagnosed with colon cancer when she was 22, and then also struggled with some weight challenges in her younger years. She got married 3 years after she was diagnosed and adopted 3 children who are now, as I understand, adult children. Yeah. And 5 years after her diagnosis, she was pronounced cancer-free and is now living a much healthier lifestyle. So before I hand it over to you, Bonnie, just again, let us know where you're coming in from. We like to see how far these videos reach. It's lots of fun. So Bonnie, just tell us a little bit about your story before Shaklee. I'd love to share that with us.
Okay, so there's going to be a little bit of overlap with how you introduced me, but I'm the second youngest of 6 kids, and I grew up in the country here in southwestern Ontario. And even though we weren't wealthy by any means, we always had a lot of fresh food from my mom's garden and from my dad's butcher shop, and we had home cooked meals every night, and we ate very little processed foods and hardly ever went out to eat. So we just had all-round healthy lifestyles modeled for us all the time growing up. And then, like you mentioned, when I was almost 22 years old, I was diagnosed with colon cancer, and it was stage 4 colon cancer. So that was a big shock to me and to my family. And I had surgery, and even though the doctor told me that I would not survive, it was terminal cancer. I still had a year of chemotherapy after that. And then 5 years after I was diagnosed, my surgeon told me that I was cancer-free, and he said he could only explain that it was a miracle. He could explain it no other way. So that was pretty amazing in light of the fact that I had lots of people praying for me and for my healing. 3 years after my cancer diagnosis, I got married, and a few months after I got married, we adopted 3 siblings, all under the age of 4 years old. So a 5-month-old, a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
Holy girl.
So, yeah, it was quite the time. Yeah, and I had always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, so that's exactly what I did. I stayed home with my kids, and I homeschooled them all through grade school and into high school. And now they're adults, like you mentioned, and they've moved out of the house. So my husband and I are empty nesters now, and he works full time, and he also has an excavating business on the side. And I run a business here from home, teaching people how to grow a business online like I do and earn extra cash every month. So that's
that's fantastic. And it's just so incredible that such a miracle to go through something like that and come out the other end and stronger, I would presume.
Oh, yeah.
Way stronger. So
yeah, that was life-changing. Yeah.
No kidding. So that all happened before you were introduced to Shaklee. So let's fast forward a little bit, and we'll take a little bit and just ask, how were you introduced and when?
Okay. So did you want to first talk about how I felt before using Shaklee?
Actually, yes, that would be great. What were you doing before Shaklee? Sure. And how did you feel?
Yeah, sure. So I had gone through that time with cancer, and even though I had been declared cancer-free, I was still tired and fatigued. I didn't sleep well. I used a lot of caffeine and energy drinks to try to get through the day. I had frequent headaches, colds, flu, and I thought that was just part of life. And I just kept, lots of Tylenol and ibuprofen in the house. I also had very bad eczema and seasonal allergies. I had those since I was a teenager, and again used a lot of prescription and over-the-counter medication to deal with that. I also had a lot of joint pain starting in my 20s, to the point that I had a hard time going from a sitting to a standing position when I tried to get off the couch. I couldn't bend my fingers because they were so swollen, and I couldn't sit in the car for longer than 10 minutes without being in excruciating pain and having to take a lot of ibuprofen to try to get through the car ride. I had a lot of digestive issues also that were connected to my surgery. And I went to my family doctor to try to get help, and he sent me on to a specialist. And the specialist wasn't really able to help with that either. So I lived with a lot of digestive issues because I had had half my colon removed. And also, like you mentioned when you introduced me, I struggled with my weight a lot. At my heaviest, I was close to 200 pounds, and I struggled with my weight a lot. So.
Yeah. Did you struggle a lot with up and down and up and down? And
yeah. Like I would lose weight. I would just, I went to Weight Watchers, and that didn't work. And then I would try different diets, and I might lose weight, and then I would put the weight back on and gain even more. And it was a yo-yo diet cycle.
Yeah. And I'm sure extremely discouraging at the same time. That's never a fun thing to have such great success, and also like, we got it back. So then fast forward, you were introduced in 2000, or were you introduced in 2013, or you just started with Shaklee in 2013?
You know what? I think I was introduced. I can't remember when I was introduced, to tell you the truth. I'm going to say it was 2013, but
2013. So how were you introduced to Shaklee?
So my mom invited me to her house. She was going to have two ladies. They ended up being Shaklee distributors, I found out later, and they had background in nutrition. And they were coming to her house to speak to a room full of us about cancer prevention and building health. And you would think that with my history, I would have been right on it. I would have been interested in going to something like that, but I wasn't. I wasn't interested in it because I just thought I knew everything there was to know about health, and I didn't need to be told, anything else. So I thought I was doing fine. So I was resistant, but thankfully my mom was very persistent, and I ended up going. And I ended up being very intrigued and drawn in with what these ladies were talking about, because their approach to building health was so different than anything I had ever heard before from any other nutritionist or dietitian, and building health and preventing disease. So they compared building health to building a home, and that really caught my attention. They explained that when you build a home, you have to make sure, like we all know, the foundation is the most important part. And therefore, we have to make sure that the materials that we use in the foundation are the right materials. And if we don't, then we're going to notice symptoms in the home, like cracks in the wall, or doors and windows that don't hang straight, or wall hanging don't hang straight. So, and they compared that to our body. I mean, if you look at all the different parts of our body, like our hair and skin and nails and teeth and organs and tissue and our digestive enzymes and hormones, they're all made up of these cells. Like they explain that we have 60 plus trillion cells in our body, and we have to make sure that we're giving those cells, since there's the foundation of our body, we have to make sure that we're giving them the raw materials that they need every single day, like essential fatty acids and amino acids and nutrients. We have to make sure we're giving those cells the right raw material every day, so that they can do their jobs properly and fight disease and prevent disease better. And then they mentioned that these days, we just cannot get all these raw materials and nutrients we need from our diet. and that even most doctors recommend that their patients take at least a multivitamin these days. So up to this point, I had done a lot of research on supplements because I researched what was the best brand and what I should be taking. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to stay healthy. I recognized that even though I had overcome cancer once, I was still at high risk to get a second cancer. I have a lot of cancer in my family, extended family too. So I wanted to do whatever I could to reduce my risk of cancer, and that's why I did all that research. And I had started buying supplements and from the health food store and from Costco and places like that. So these two ladies that were talking at my mom's place, they really caught my attention when they mentioned a 20-year study that had followed 3 groups of people. And that was people who took no supplements, and the second group was people like myself who were using supplements from the health food store or other stores, and the third group was Shaklee, people who had used Shaklee for 20 years. And they explained that the study showed that those who used Shaklee, even though they were on average 5 years older than the other 2 groups, they were remarkably healthy, like much more healthy than the other 2 groups, according to their blood work, and they had lower biomarkers of disease. But then what they said, they mentioned one thing that really caught my attention, and that was that there were times where the people who took supplements from the health food store and other stores like myself, at times the study showed that they had poorer blood work than those people who use no supplements.
Holy smokes.
So that really caught my attention because I went home and I looked at, I was spending a good chunk of money every month on these supplements. And I looked at them and I thought, well, maybe I'm wasting my money. And because of what I had heard about that study and how the Shaklee people were so much more healthy than the other 2 groups, I thought, well, maybe that's when I decided I should probably take a look at Shaklee and try them.
That's fantastic. So, so that's when you decide, or that's why you decided. So what did you start with? What was the first product you started with?
The first product I started with was the Vitalizer.
Yeah. Perfect one.
Yeah.
And what did you notice after the first, when you started taking it?
When I first started using the Vitalizer, and then eventually, I think it was a month later, I added the protein. But I first started noticing that I had increased energy. Definitely, like within 30 days, I was noticing increased energy, and that really took me by surprise. And I also noticed that I was sleeping a lot better. I decided that if these Shaklee products were really as good as they said they were, that I was going to test it in a couple of areas. So I had a lot of pits and ridges in my nails, my fingernails, and I figured that that was probably a sign of a nutritional deficiency. So I kept an eye on my nails, and within a month or 2, my nails, I no longer had any pits or ridges in them, and now my nails are completely smooth. Another area in which I tested the Shaklee products was my hormone health. So after I had had surgery, well, actually, because my cancer was so bad, I had to also have a complete hysterectomy, and I had to be put on an estrogen prescription when I was 21. And I had been taking that for 20 years, and my doctor did not like it that I was taking it for so long because the risk goes up the longer you take estrogen. So he was warning me that I should stop. And every time I did, I would go into menopause. I would have menopausal symptoms like hot flashes and moodiness and not sleeping well. And I would have to go back on it. So I thought, okay, if these Shaklee products are as good as they say they are, I'm going to try quitting my estrogen prescription and see what happens. So I did. And without a hiccup, I had absolutely no menopause symptoms come back like other times. So I threw my prescription in the garbage and haven't used estrogen since. So that was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
I also noticed that my allergies disappeared. I had had them for years. I no longer depended on Benadryl to get me through the allergy season. My eczema cleared up, especially when I switched over to the Shaklee Get Clean line, which is their green product line, and replaced all my household cleaners with the Get Clean line. The pain in my joints that I noticed, that disappeared. I mean, I can now sit in a car for hours without any pain like I used to have. No more pain in my fingers. I've noticed that my stress response has really improved over time. So because I'm giving my nervous system the nutrients it needs, I find I'm a much calmer person and not so reactive like I used to be, which is great when you're a female. So, and my digestive issues, which had gotten pretty bad, those also really cleared up. I noticed especially the longer that I used Shaklee products, the more my digestive issues cleared up, and especially when Shaklee introduced their newest probiotic in the last year or two, then whatever issues I had left with my digestion pretty much all cleared up, and I don't have those issues at all anymore.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That's
And
incredible.
yeah, I know, because that had been quite frustrating, living with half a colon and dealing with the issues that came. And then also a few years ago, I had something remarkable happen with, well, it wasn't remarkable that I was breaking out in hives, but I started breaking out in hives and struggled with that for a bit. And I had them all over my face and my elbows and the back of my legs, and to the point that I couldn't even leave the house anymore. And then finally I got an allergy test done, and it showed the foods that I was allergic to. And so I stopped eating those foods. And then I decided that it was probably going to be a good idea to start targeting my immune system with the Shaklee products that strengthen the immune system. So I did that. I really worked at that with the Shaklee products. And a month later, I thought, okay, I'm going to test to see if these products are working. So the food on the allergy test that I was the most highly allergic to was almonds. So I ate a handful of almonds after a month of working on my immune system, and I did not break out in any hives. And so I realized the Shaklee products had worked once again. My immune system was stronger, and to this day, I can eat all the foods that I am allergic to, and some of them I was extremely allergic to, like almonds. I can eat them all without breaking out in hives. Some like dairy. Dairy is the only one I have to be careful that I don't eat too much of it all at once or too frequently, but I can eat it. So that was amazing.
That's super amazing.
Yeah,
Holy smokes.
Pretty neat to see how, they work. These products work time and again, right?
They do.
They do exactly what they say they're going to do. And then with my weight, that was one of the biggest areas again where I saw Shaklee really deliver. Again, I had always struggled with my weight, and using Shaklee products, I was able to drop down to 150 pounds. And at that point, I plateaued and I couldn't push past 150 pounds. So I hired a personal trainer. I went to the gym. That didn't work. And then without connecting the dots, I did something very similar to the 7-day healthy cleanse that Shaklee has today. So I did a cleanse, and I used Shaklee products to support myself during that time. And right after that, I'm just going to hang my notes up here so I can don't lose my train of thought. Excuse me. So right after that, I wasn't doing anything different and hadn't made the connection to the cleanse. But I noticed that every time I went to the mall and tried on clothes, the clothes just kept getting baggier and baggier. And finally, I thought, what's going on? So I stepped on the scale, and I had dropped from 150 pounds. And remember, I hadn't been able to push past that, even with the personal trainer. And I was now 138 pounds.
Holy smokes.
Yes. And I hadn't even tried to lose weight, really. I just kept on doing what I was doing. But the cleanse showed all the difference. And better than that, I had dropped from a size 12 to a size 4.
Wow.
So I was now at my high school weight, but I fit into clothing sizes that I had never dreamt I would fit into, because my body had held on to muscle, which is what the Shaklee products help you to do. And my body had reshaped like no other diet I had tried. So having this lean, muscular body like I have has made it a lot easier to run. I run 10 kilometers a few times a week. And for you Americans, I think that's over 6 miles. So I run 10 kilometer stretches a few times a week. I find running very easy because I have all this muscle. It doesn't take a lot of effort. So I often think that it feels like I'm living my life in reverse. In my 20s, I was always tired and fatigued and unhealthy, even to the point of being sick with cancer. And now I'm in my late 40s and I have tons of energy, and I feel better, even better than I even felt as a teenager.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So then out of all of that, now you've been using Shaklee products for 6 years.
Yeah.
So in that process, or in, using the products, what has become your favorite Shaklee product and why?
I would say my favorite Shaklee product is probably the Vitalizing Plan, because it has a 30-day supply of nutrients, plus one healthy meal replacement shake every day. And that's the one that I would recommend that everyone try first, pretty much because I can pretty much guarantee that you will notice a difference in your health within 30 days, like most people do. Also, if you're looking to lose less than 20 pounds, I would say the Vitalizing Plan is a great place to start. And if you need to lose more than 20 pounds, I think it's also a great place to start because it will give you a taste for of the weight management kits that Shaklee offers that you could switch to after you try the Vitalizing Plan. And on top of that, the Vitalizing Plan also gets you a free membership and free shipping. And in the States, I know that they get also, like if you talk to a person who has introduced you to Shaklee, they can help you to get a free 7-day healthy cleanse kit, which is how I lost that weight that I was talking about earlier, by doing a cleanse. And it's also a great way to just completely reset your system, even if you're not trying to lose weight. It reduces cravings, it improves sleep, and you can jumpstart weight loss with it too. So
that's fantastic. Yes, those are definitely my two of my favorites as well. So Bonnie, for anybody out there who's thinking about or on the fence about Shaklee, why would you recommend that someone try Shaklee products?
The reason I would recommend that they try Shaklee products, because even if you feel healthy, I challenge you to try the products anyhow and just experiment with them and see if you notice a difference, like most people do. Also, I would recommend them because of the history of the company. It was founded by Dr. Shaklee, who invented the first multivitamin in North America in 1915, which I think is pretty cool. Shaklee's also being 100%, they are 100% committed to the safety and purity of their products. And they've never had a product recall in all the years that they've been around, which is really amazing. Quite unheard of.
Almost unheard of. I don't know if anyone else has ever accomplished that.
I know, it kind of blows my mind. So, and they're the only nutritional company that has over 100 peer-reviewed clinical studies that backs up their claims. And if that's not enough, what I think is really neat is they offer an empty bottle money-back guarantee, because they are that confident that you will notice a difference when you try them. So there's no risk
attached. Nothing to lose.
No, nothing to lose.
Only gain, no lose.
That's right. Lose weight, that's about it.
Yes, right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bonnie, for sharing your story. It's absolutely incredible. And like you said, just you're kind of living that reverse life where as you're getting older with more energy and feeling better than you did in your 20s, which I think many of us actually strive for that. So that's fantastic. So for anybody who's listening or who's watching this and checking this out, if you have any questions about any of the Shaklee products, get together with the person who invited you or who added you to this group. They'd be happy to share some of that and give you the information that you need. And other than that, Bonnie, any final remarks that you want to add before we wrap up?
Not really. I think I said pretty much all I needed to say. So I would just encourage anyone just to experiment with the products, because like I said, you have nothing to lose.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining. If you've caught this on the replay, just let us know give us a replay in the comments, and then we can swing back around and ask questions. And again, if you're curious about any of the products or you want to learn more about them, get with the person who added you to this group and they would be happy to give you that info. So thank you, Bonnie, so much. It was fantastic. I loved it. It was great to hear your story. And thank you for joining us here live. So take care, everybody.
See ya. Bye.